Every single video on this channel is going to make you smarter. That's why you should subscribe and hit the bell icon. What does India look like in 2050? And I'm asking you this because y'all study India in detail day in, day out. So where do y'all see it going in 30 years?
We need some actual reforms. We definitely need some actual reforms, and the reforms will have to start from politics. There has been a great movement to bring all the elections in 1 year. Somebody is saying that why do we have elections, the state elections? I mean, for example, Maharashtra state elections fall on in the same year when the central elections fall.
General elections are.
Okay, but in right now Bihar elections are happening.
Going on now.
So what that certain person is saying, why to invest every year in figuring out political rallies? Let's decide 1 year. Let's do all the political rallies that year. The rest 4 years, let's focus on work. This is something that definitely should happen. And as a viewer, a person will ask, definitely this should happen. Some minor things that have been said before. We were reading a report that was made in 2003 about how the law needs to change in India. And the first line in that report is that everything that we will say right now has already been said before. The problem is nobody listens.
So we begin again.
And in whose hands is this change?
The politicians. They have to bring in a bill.
Marginal changes in politicians' hands. People.
Yeah. So whatever these suggestions are, which committee? Malimat Committee. We are reading this report by Malimat Committee, which was made in 2003, about how the justice system needs to change.
Reforms in criminal justice system.
So 2003. After that, how many governments changed? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 governments changed. Okay. 4 elections happened. 4 governments changed. The government that was in power at that time, that government also came in power twice. But still, those reforms have not happened.
Yeah. The person under who the committee was formed passed away in 2015 without seeing his reforms being implemented.
So we need to, and this will only happen when the youth protests for the right reasons. There are a lot of protests happening, but the objectives of those protests are very short term. That needs to change. And if that happens, then definitely 2050 will be a bright future.
I mean, again, this may be me being self-obsessed, but I see content creating that change. Like how we mentioned that Swades had a deep impact on all our lives.
I'm sure.
There has to be content that creates a change. Like AIB, when I think in 2014 or 15, they had created something about, what's that internet thing? Censorship. Internet censorship, and that had created some amount of a burst. I just feel that the general content ecosystem is much more powerful now.
Yeah.
So these changes
it has to become a lot more vibrant and a little more in depth with a little more perspective. He has a different perspective. I'm looking at 2050 India from a completely environment wala perspective, and that outlook is not very cheery. To just tell you a few things, India is the most water-stressed country on the planet. We have 16, maybe not, close to like 18% of the world's population because we don't stop producing kids. And we have less than 3% of the world's freshwater resources, which we are losing very rapidly. Have you been to Punjab ever?
Yeah.
Rural Punjab, you've seen how it is, right?
Yeah.
If Punjab continues to farm the way it does, in 25 years, Punjab will be a desert because they have no groundwater left.
All these things that we eat, wheat, rice, sugar, it requires a lot of water. These are water guzzling crops. But because our certain political aspect is in such a way that...
Because agriculture is distorted in that way, people continue to produce it in spite of us having buffer stocks. And so we continue to draw back more water. So
our topsoil is gone. If you eat wheat, you are not getting any nutrients. You have to eat fruits, you have to eat millets.
Yeah, so in 2050, if we are not careful, it's going to be chaos because...
Are there any steps being taken to fix this situation?
No.
Small sporadic steps on individual level. I believe I have read that this year as a part, because they wanted to increase work given to people under Manrega, they made them construct rainwater harvesting pits across India to just give them employment. So kuch ho raha hai, but not enough knowledge is there on this topic. Not enough knowledge of adverse water uses. Like I think when Mumbai was active, the amount of water Mumbai would waste would be equal to the amount of water Pune consumes. So I don't, matlab, if we are not careful right now, I don't see a bright future for us. I see if we are not careful, the flow of Ganga will become 1/3 by 2050. And if so, it will wipe out 1/3 of India.